Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to Roma Theory. Happy 25th of April to any Italian watching this. It's been a holiday today, Liberation Day, no school today, no school tomorrow, weekend is approaching. It's the perfect formula to enjoy yourself. We've got a very busy schedule today. Transfer news right now. Match live watch along at 8 p.m. for the remaining 20 minutes of the Udinese game, and obviously match reaction coming up tonight, discussing the outcome of the game in relation to the league, in relation to the position, in relation to our objectives, and obviously also in relation to another big game that we will have to start preparing in a bit after tonight's game against Udinese, against Napoli on Sunday. But yeah, how's everybody doing? Today we're going to discuss about Lukaku, who wants to stay at Roma. And the possible outcomes, what we can try and do to sign Lukaku and steal him for Chelsea again. Will it be a permanent move? Will it be an extension of the loan? There were various options that we could figure out. And then I also do want to speak about Burdisso, giving some sporting director news. Because De Rossi really appreciates Burdisso, who is going to leave Fiorentina at the end of the season. He used to be a Roma player. He's obviously Argentinian. He played with De Rossi. He's got a good friendly bond with De Rossi. And apparently De Rossi has asked him, and De Rossi sees in him the ideal sporting director replacement, and all about that. But yeah, if you've got any comments in the chat, obviously do let me know. We'll get into some questions. I'm not in a rush today, so if anybody wants to pop some questions in the chat and all of that, feel free to do it. And how are we feeling for tonight's game, by the way? I think it's some crucial 20 minutes. I really do think that if we win today, we'd be back on top of the hill, and if we lose today, we'd constantly... If we don't get 3 points today, I think we'd narrow ourselves down more and more to a Europa League all-in decision, which is very risky, but I think these 20 minutes will also tell us what the intention of the team is, what the intention in terms of the decision-making, which path to follow, Serie A, League, or Europa League, we will know. So, right. Do hit the like as always. If we can get 100 likes on this video, it would be absolutely amazing. Hit the like, get your friends and your families to hit the like, and also subscribe if you haven't already. I do want to start off by reading an article published by Leggo, an Italian sport journal, about Lukaku and about Lukaku's will to stay in Rome. The article is by Leggo, as I said before. The love story between Roma and Romelu Lukaku may not end at the end of the season. Both the Giallorossi club and the Belgian striker want to move forward together. Today's edition of Leggo reports it. Big Rom feels good in Rome. He has bonded with all of his teammates, with Daniele De Rossi, and with the fans. De Rossi also recently confirmed him as leader of the team. The coach would be happy to have him with him again next year, and the Fredkins will try to please him. Meanwhile, there are signs from Chelsea that they are open to a discount or a loan renewal. The latter option would be the best solution to compensate for a monstrous expense, 40 million price tag, that Roma will be unlikely to be able to pay into the Blues' coffers, as well as other clubs that may be interested in him. Without Lukaku, Roma struggled a lot on Monday against Bologna, but also in the previous matches in which the Belgian was missing for the Giallorossi, 3 defeats in 3 matches played without him. An important signal that pushes the Roman club to seriously reflect on the possibility of buying Lukaku on a permanent move or negotiate with Chelsea an extension of the loan. Right, that's basically what the article says. I made my intention from a fan point of view. I made my intention very clear a few days ago. I want Lukaku to stay. There are a few reasons why I want Lukaku to stay. One of them is literally the last thing that was stated in this article. On Monday without Lukaku, we struggled and we lost. And in 3 previous other games where Lukaku didn't play, Roma lost all 3. I think Lukaku is more than goals. I think from a fan point of view, we need to see in Lukaku a player who isn't just goals. He plays in a position that you judge by goals, of course, because he's a striker. And in order for a team to judge the performance of a striker, you look at goals. You look at how many goals you scored, you look at how many contributions you give, you look at the amount of big games you've decided. These are all key factors that you need to look at when you look at a striker, when you want to buy a striker permanently. But Lukaku is more than a striker, because the way he plays, and also added onto the experience that he has with this league, because he knows this league really well, he knows the team in this league really well, he knows how a lot of these teams play, and it's exactly why in little games Lukaku guarantees you the goals. So when we play against the Udineses, when we play against the Veronas, when we play against the Sassuolos, when we play against these little teams, Lukaku guarantees you the goals. Of course, there's going to be periods in a season where his fitness and his form is going to fluctuate, because it's impossible for a player, unless your name is Cristiano Ronaldo, back in 2015, to keep a steady rhythm for, 300 days throughout an entire season. There are going to be moments where he's going to score more goals, and there are going to be moments where he's going to score less goals. At the start of the season, when we were having an atrocious start of the season, Lukaku was the only one who was bagging the goals. And he was the only one who was grinding points for us. So I see in Lukaku a player who is more than just how many goals does he bag, how many goals has he bagged over the course of an entire season. Because he changes the games up front, because of the movements he makes, because of the knowledge of this league and the awareness of being in the right position inside the box at the right time. That's what I see in a striker like him. And that is ultimately where I come to my conclusion, where it's a sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice, especially if Chelsea aren't open up to extend another loan, which would be the best option. We'll discuss this in a second. But let's say Chelsea aren't open to do that. Let's say Chelsea aren't open to extend the loan. It's a risky move, because 35 to 40 million for a player who's not in his prime anymore, who this season has fluctuated in terms of fitness, is a lot of money. But the other reason which I look at and kind of come to a conclusion is this. Nowadays, it's so complicated to get good strikers. It's so complicated to get good strikers. And it's so complicated to get good deals for strikers. Because right now, in 2024, a striker, it's very hard to find somebody who you buy, and number one, is going to start performing immediately really well. It normally takes a lot of time for strikers to adapt themselves. And number two, it's also very hard to keep and have a striker who isn't really a one-season wonder and can repeat and score goals and score quite a lot of goals for more than one season straight. And adding on to that, the market of strikers is a very expensive market. It's a very expensive market because it's a very risky market. Because you either accept that you're taking a big risk and you're gambling on a little player, and maybe a young player, which then has the potentials of turning into a really good striker, but you will never know because it's a gamble. Or number two, to get a good striker, you need to spend a lot of money, which frankly speaking, Roma isn't able to pay. Because if you want to get a top class striker right now, who is a guaranteed striker in scoring goals, you need 70, 80 million, because that's the striker market. So you need to follow one of these two paths. Or you're in the middle of this path and you choose the middle path, which is, I'm going to spend a bit of money, because 35 to 40 million is a lot, but compared in a market of strikers, it's not exaggerate. And I get a striker who, yes, I'm spending a bit of money, but I'm not spending an exaggerated amount of money, and I'm getting somebody who isn't a risk, because he knows the league. He knows this, he knows he's been playing in the Serie for a lot of time, he knows the teams in it. And in his first season at Roma, to be honest with you, I classify it as a success. So The middle path, I think, is the path we want to follow. I could name you one other striker that Roma could afford without spending too much money, and maybe it would end up being a good deal. And I don't want to sound contradicting here, because there was a moment this summer I was a really big fan of him. When he joined this other club, and therefore he didn't join us, I was a bit more perplexed. Scamacca. I think Scamacca is the only other striker which I think we could afford. And I have to be very, very honest with you. In these past live streams, there were questions about, Simo, would you take Scamacca? And I remember I said no. But I have to be very, very honest with you. Scamacca is playing really, really well. And I need to take the negative comments that I did distribute to him, because Scamacca is a really good striker. So he could be the other option. He's been linked to us previously. He's a Roma fan, so he knows he would definitely want to join us. But the other problem with Scamacca is that he's enjoying life at Atalanta. And his price tag, seeing his performances, is going to skyrocket. It's going to skyrocket. Add on to the fact that he's going to be the main striker for Spalletti's Italian national team in the Euros. If he plays well in the Euros, his value is going to skyrocket. So I think the option will need to be Lukaku. Again, plus he's orientated himself well. De Rossi likes him. The fans like him. He likes the fans. Lukaku isn't an easy person. We've seen this with Inter Milan. We've seen this with Chelsea. A lot of Inter fans and Chelsea fans don't want him back because of how complicated his personality is. Well, he's demonstrated that he likes us. He's demonstrated that, he's got a great bond with other teammates. I know he's really good friends with Mancini, Dybala. I just feel like the perfect way to define this, the perfect way to define Lukaku, signing Lukaku, is it's a signing that would avoid you taking risks, because the striker market is a very complicated market, because 80% of strikers are one season wonders. And I'm going to make it out loud. I don't want the likes of Guirassy. I don't want the likes of I don't want these ones. This summer we were talking about Boulaye Dia, amazing player, only because he scored and he had one good season with Salernitana. Look at him now. Guirassy from Stuttgart might have had a great season. I can guarantee you next season he's going to have a stinker, because it's full of these one-season wonder strikers. And the striker is such an important position that you can't take risks. You need somebody who you know how he plays, you know what he guarantees, and try to pump more and more and more from him. In terms of, again, it's not going to be easy, because Chelsea will definitely want to sell him. In fact, this article says that if we play on the part that Lukaku really wants to stay with us, if we play on his desire to stay with us, and if he really acts like a leverage and doesn't want to go back, maybe we can force Chelsea to extend another one-year loan. I don't think that's going to happen, because I think Chelsea will either going to keep him or will either going to sell him. I don't think, with the financial power that a club like Chelsea has, they will definitely not get controlled by a smaller club like Roma. So I tend to exclude the loan, 1-year loan, one extra year loan, because I really don't see it happening. If it happens, if we have the chance to do it, then of course it's going to be the best option, because it would save us 40 million while at the same time keeping Lukaku for another season. And going back, if we need to spend the 40 million, let's say 40 million is the price tag that Chelsea asks for. I think if we tell them that Lukaku really wants to stay with us, and if we play with the good relationships that us and the Bowley board have, the Fredkins and the Bowley board have, both American, they're really good friends. If you can play with these scenarios, I think the minimum we could lower the price tag is 30 to 35 million. And to be honest with you, if we get Champions League football, again, if we don't get Champions League football, it's not going to happen. So I'm speaking as if we are going to get Champions League football, just because it's so important. I know that at the end of the season we might not be playing the Champions League, but it's so important that I tend to look at things with the Champions League money. I think out of the budget that we'll have, so if we do play in the Champions League and sell quite a lot of our players, it will probably reach the 100 millions. 30 million, 35 million. So almost 1/3 of the Champions League budget on Lukaku. For some people it might be a risk, and for some people it might be a no. For me it's a yes, because I think Lukaku's a guarantee. Right, I'm going to read a few comments. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do hit the like if you haven't already, by the way. A big schedule today, transfer news today, watch along at 8, and match reaction later tonight. So if you're ready for today, very big day ahead, do hit the like. What do you think your chances of getting Chiesa are? It depends on Champions League, mate. It depends on Champions League. If we qualify for the Champions League, I'd also give it a 70% chance. I really see that deal happening. But in order for me to see that deal happening, you really do need Champions League football. Hello, Brolic. I honestly think we need all 4 strikers. Azmoun, Dybala, Tammy, Lukaku. Every single one of them is important, especially if one of them gets injured or anything. I think it's going to be impossible to keep both Lukaku and Tammy. And I'm a big admirer of Tammy, but the club is first. Player FC can come second. The most important thing is the badge. The most important thing is the team and our objectives and how easy we reach these objectives. So I'm not a fan of the players, I'm a fan of the club. Of course, I like the players and I love the players, and you know me, I love Tammy a lot. But recently, Tammy has had a drop-off. Again, we shouldn't expect much from him, coming back from an 8-month ACL injury. But also because he's coming back from such a serious injury, I just feel like Tammy is not going to be the same player. A lot of players who get these injuries who never get back to the same level. So I hate to say it, but out of the two, if I had to keep one of them, I would have to keep Lukaku. I think Tammy's such an important figure to this team, also on the emotional level. But we're Roma, I would love to keep all players, but we can't. We need to make sacrifices. And if I can keep one between Tammy and Lukaku, I would definitely keep Tammy. How are you right now? I'm a City fan. I don't know about your club much. Welcome. Everybody's very welcome. Shout out to you. Matthew from New Jersey. Forza Roma sempre. I appreciate everything you do for us English-speaking fans. It means a lot. Don't worry, man. Thank you very much for the support. We had De Santis as director. We're trying Burdisso now. Seems like there's a good old strategy. If we are to keep Lukaku, we need to get rid of slow midfielders such as Sanchez and Aouar and bring at least one smart one in addition to the ones we have, such as Baldanzi and Dybala. Definitely. Also, we should prepare a plan B in case we'll get injured, bringing a fast striker. This will happen. Chelsea may try to be intransigent over the fee, but Lukaku won't just move to Saudi to satisfy them. They won't have a choice as the summer rumbles on. Lukaku not only guarantees goals, but he opens up so much space for Dybala and others. I agree. Playing in the UCL next season will be totally different than in the UEL. If we qualify, we need to focus on bringing top players, says Brolic. 30 million for Lukaku is way too much. He was benched in Champions League last year for Dzeko. He always comes up short in big games. Roma don't have the money for his wages to be spent on over 30. Look, I understand your point. I can't go against that point because it's the truth. To a lot of people, 30 million for a player who isn't in his prime anymore and isn't young anymore, isn't in his youngest anymore, is a lot if your name is Roma. But I would also say that if we want to get a striker nowadays, you need to spend 30 million. Now, I do get your point. You're obviously saying, I don't want to spend 30 million on Lukaku, which is different from, I don't want to spend 30 million on a player. It's different, and I understand your perspective. But Lukaku, no Lukaku, to get a striker, we will need to get 30 million out of our pockets and spend them. Lukaku, no Lukaku is a different thing. But you need 30 million to sign a striker nowadays. Unless you want to buy a kid from Brazil and have a massive risk, then you will have to spend 30 million, even more probably. So let's bear that in mind. Hi Simon, I watch you all the time and my like's automatic even if most of the time I don't leave a comment. Keep up the good work, man. Thank you very much. Bella Andrea. Another backup striker would be Albion Rahmani from Rapid Bucharest. We could easily get him for 5 million. Yeah, look, I like these options, but these options, in order to satisfy these options, you need a good scouting department. You know, we're not in a position to spend 5 million on a random striker and hope for the best, because it's way too risky. And we've done this same thing with Shomurodov a few years ago. If you wanna do what Bologna did, which is buy unknown players, fine, it's a long-term project, but you need a top-class scouting department. And entering a season where that could be your project, and the fact that we still don't have a sporting director, only about thinking that gives me nightmares. Because if you want to follow one of those projects, which is what Bologna did, you need to prepare and you need to have a staff and a scouting department ready for at least 1 year. We still don't have a sporting director. So imagine the time that goes by, getting the sporting director, choosing the sporting director, describing him your project, him activating the search. That's 1-2 years gone. Bologna started this project because they started this project 2 years ago. And then they've developed it, and now they're in this position. They haven't just, I'm going to buy a sporting director, scouting department, I'm going to buy him, guarantee third position in the league. No, it takes time. And I think that project would be a great project to follow, but it's a project that, seeing the fact that we still don't have a sporting director, it's impossible to follow. Because it would be a stab if we do that and still don't have a sporting director. Could have watched from the start, but I just finished school. Thank you very much. And Enriquez. Will you have a live match reaction? Yes. Live 20-minute watch along. I'm from New Jersey too. We have Tammy, Azmoun, Dybala, Stefan Ashrawi. What's more important, one striker or a winger like Chiesa, Bellanova, a Vice Paredes, and a young striker? Well, I think we need all of those players that you listed, plus a striker. Again, whether we want to keep Tammy and give him time and reconvert him into our first striker, that's decisions which I don't have the power to make, and that the board and De Rossi will make. But we need a striker. Again, as I said before, will it be Lukaku, no Lukaku, Tammy, no Tammy? We will need a striker. Again, sporting director news. De Rossi really wants Burdisso, who has notified Fiorentina that he's going to leave the job as Fiorentina board this summer. I don't mind this for 2 reasons. Number one, I truly believe that the relationship between a manager and a director of football needs to be a very healthy relationship. Because if the two don't get along with each other, then us fans are the first ones who are going to feel the consequences. And we've seen this because over these past months, in fact, one could argue from the very beginning, Thiago Pinto and Mourinho never got along with each other. And that is one of the reasons why Thiago Pinto was buying the players he was notifying and wanted, and Mourinho was asking for other players. And then that led to us buying players like Renato Sanchez, like Aouar. I think the relationship between a manager and a healthy and a director of football it needs to be a healthy one. They need to get along. They need to work together week in, week out, day in, day out. So if De Rossi really wants Burdisso, who he knows really well because they played together, Burdisso played at Roma, Fiorentina and De Rossi and the Fiorentina, De Rossi has really good connections and friendships in the Fiorentina board. Prade and Burdisso are some really good friends of his. So if he really wants Burdisso and sees in Burdisso the ideal general director of football, then again, I think it should be the deal. It should be the move. I would tend to say, I do want to speak about this, but I would also, I want to say one thing. I'm a football fan. I'm a football fan and I care about my football team, but I truly believe that the day I start caring about sporting directors, the day I start getting heart attacks and panic attacks, and the day I get hyped on the sporting director that we get, I also feel like it's the day where I'm getting things way too serious. And just where I'm taking this entire game and team that I support way too seriously. I do not care who the next sporting director is. I just want somebody to come in and have a good idea, good scouting department, and good project. You know, I don't care if it's him, or him. I don't care if it's X, Y, or Z. Because, I mean, yeah, it's not what you, from a football fan, that's not what I want to look at. I want results, I want players, I want to see the performances on the football pitch and the football games. So, really, like, I don't really like talking about sporting directors, not because it's just not what the fans should focus on. And I truly think that the day I will start caring about directors of football is the day I'm taking this way too seriously. But this is news, so of course I'm going to report them being a fan channel. The one thing that we need to say is that the Fiorentina board, with Burdisso in it, did a fantastic job. Because Fiorentina, for a team like Fiorentina, I believe that in 20... When was it? Italiano joined them in 2020, I believe. 2021, if I'm not wrong. Before that, so in 2018, 2019, 2017, Fiorentina was a team that, before Rocco Commisso came in, before Fiorentina got sold to the American owner, Commisso, Fiorentina was a team that, I'm not going to say was fighting to not get relegated, because that would be a lie, but they were a team that never got more than 14th place in the league. Commisso came in, appointed Italiano, started spending money, changed the entire Fiorentina board, and Fiorentina are now considered one of the middle-high teams of the league. You know, playing against Fiorentina is always considered a middle-top game. Fiorentina is a team which has reached a Coppa Italia semi-final this season, a Coppa Italia final last season, a Europa Conference League final last season, a Europa League Conference League semi-final this season, and until November, December of this season, they were fighting to get fourth. And still, they're 5 points behind us. Not 5 points, 7, 8 points behind us. That is what you call a transition. And Burdisso played a big part in this. He wasn't the only one, but he played a big part in this. And if you analyze and if you have to decide on a sporting director, you need to look at the evolution that the previous teams that they were in did. And I think Fiorentina did a massive, massive, massive glow up in terms of the team they are, the players they are buying, the team that they're building. I do think that Italiano's cycle is coming to an end. Italiano is going to leave at the end of the season. This is a crazy prediction. Mark my words, if Thiago Motta goes to Juventus, Italiano's going to go to Bologna. I'm convinced about this. I had a dream last night about this, but I am convinced that if Bologna go in the Champions League and Thiago Motta doesn't extend, Italiano's going to go there as manager. He's a good manager. Again, he hasn't won anything, but bringing Fiorentina to finals is big. It's big because Fiorentina ain't a massive team. So what the Fiorentina board has done is, it needs recognition. And with that being said, I wouldn't mind Burdisso, also because he's good friends with De Rossi. But as I said before, I really do not care about sporting directors. I don't. It's just not what a fan needs to care about. A fan needs to celebrate, support the team. A fan doesn't need to give opinions on sporting directors, because that's the day I'm going to take things way too serious. The day I start caring about sporting directors. So yeah. The one last thing that I will say is that, again, we're in this phase of creating a new project, creating a new board, sacking Mourinho, sacking Thiago Pinto, sacking Mourinho's staff, sacking Thiago Pinto's staff, appointing Lina Saluku as CEO. This is a clear out. This is steps to a clear out. There's not going to be a player clear out this summer. Of course, some players will leave, some players will stay. But this is an indication of I'm starting from scratch and I'm restarting again with the project, with a new project. And there's one project that we need to learn from. I look at one project that, I have to be very honest with you, every single football fan needs to give credit to and recognition to. I look at one football team that plays in our league, So following a similar project to them is doable because it's not. I'm not talking about an English team. It's an Italian team, and this Italian team is called Atalanta. What Atalanta have done in these past 10 years, what Gasperini and the entire Atalanta board have done in the past 10 years is something sensational. And I hate Atalanta. I feel the Atalanta rivalry like crazy. I do not like Atalanta because I find their fans northern pricks, racist bastards. But Atalanta, my friends, is the project that as a Roma fan I am asking until the day I die. It's the project we need to be following. Because Atalanta is not a one-season wonder. Atalanta has been performing like this for the past 6 years. They are constantly in a European position. Is it a Champions League? Is it a Europa League? They are constantly in Europe. This season, they could easily get top 4, top 5 in the league. They're playing a Coppa Italia final and they're in a Europa League semi-final. In 2018, Gasperini brought this team to a Champions League quarter-final against PSG. This team, the way this team has been built, the scouting department that goes behind Atalanta, the infrastructure, building a completely new stadium, private infrastructure, completely new training ground with fresh pitches, fresh technologies, completely new infrastructure. Recreating that stadium, recreating all the infrastructures at their best, recreating their team, creating an under-23 next-gen Atalanta team to place in the Serie C and compete. Atalanta is just the smart kid at school that everybody wants to be. Because they've shown everybody in Italy that they've changed the perception of football in Italy. Because they are the team that has kind of broken this perspective that everybody has of, oh well, only big teams with big money can succeed in Italy. Little teams with little money, north-south divide. No. Atalanta in 2012 we got 18th in the league. Atalanta in 2012, 2013 scraped relegation. Gasperini came in with his tactics, with his ideology, the job that Atalanta has done in terms of scouting department, young players, creating an next-gen under-23 team, recreating the stadium, recreating new pitches, new technologies. That's what you like to see, and that's what your team needs to do. And the big reason behind this is one thing that I've been saying for quite a bit, but I really believe in this. Gasperini has been the Atalanta manager for the last 8 years. This shows you that if you back a manager and if you keep a manager and you don't get too influenced by the media, oh he's shit, sack him. Back him, give him time, and look, Gasperini has been there 8 years. 8 years. And Atalanta are the best team to watch in Italy. Yesterday, I was watching that. I watched the last 20 minutes of that Fiorentina game. The way Atalanta play, the way they've given value to so many of these players. Cup minors, they bought cup minors from AZ Alkmaar for 10 million. Now he's probably worth 50 million. Pasalic, he was a scrap at Chelsea. And Scamacca, when West Ham, Roma went to offer West Ham a loan, and Atalanta came in, hijacked the deal, got Scamacca. Carnesecchi's young. You look at, Deron, a lot of these players who 8 years ago were nobodies. Atalanta's the project we have to build, also because of the finances we have, but it's going to take time. It took Atalanta 8 years to be in this position, so this is what I mean. We have to be patient, and we have to back the manager. Unless things go absolutely wrong, like how they did with Mourinho, the players started mutinying against him. You know, that's something that you can't control. A mutiny from players against a manager is something that you've got no power to control, because when a majority starts turning against one single individual, then he's kind of doomed. But that's why keeping a healthy, not exhausting these players, it's the key. I think it's the key. But again, it's going to take time. Anyways, massive game tonight. I'm ready for it. It's going to be a quick one. 20-minute live watch along, 8 p.m. Italian time. Roma's arriving at the stadium in about 40 minutes. So 2 hours before kickoff. And I think that's really good. Because to prepare a 20-minute game, I think the warm-up needs to be 10 times longer. You just need to warm up for a lot more with more intensity before a game. I don't think a 50-minute warm-up is enough. I think we need to warm up today for at least 40 minutes on that pitch before kicking off, because 20 minutes is not a lot. 3 points tonight will be gorgeous indeed. Hearing from you soon. Gotta get into the Romanista mood right now. Talk to you soon, mate. I think us talking about Chiesa at this time is a bit disrespectful towards El Shaarawy, as he's at a very good moment right now. However, I believe El Shaarawy will not start next season due to his age. You think the highest chance of us getting Champions League is winning Europa League or Serie A? I still think Serie A, mate. I still think that to win Europa League you need a miracle. I still think League. Also because we've got 5 points. So I think it's easier to. I don't want to answer these questions. I am traumatized by the fact that any moment from now this team could go all in Europa League. I am traumatized by this. This is why 20 minutes a day could decide the decision making of this team. It gives me nightmares that this team, if they don't win tonight, could decide to go all in Europa League. Because it's such a big risk that I've already seen this story. I've already read this book. I've already seen this script. If we don't win Europa League and go all in it and then completely forget about the league, we're back where we started. That's why 3 points tonight could be golden. It's another 6-pointer game tonight. Also, for our mentality, it's a 6-pointer game. I share your hate for Atalanta. Beautiful shirt, thank you, mate. Weren't we interested in getting cup minors at some point? I believe we were, yeah. What free agents will Roma look to sign? I have no idea. Simo, what is your score prediction for Roma Napoli? I'm going to give you my score prediction for that game after tonight's game. Because it depends. If we don't win tonight, I see the team more and more going all in Europa League. And then you look at the Napoli game, you look at the fact that we have the Leverkusen game, it could go wrong. Tonight's 20 minutes are big, very big. They could decide our decisions. They really could. Right, I want Bellanova or the left back from Lecce, says Nick. I'm going to talk to you later on with the little live watch along and the match reaction. Hit the like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts on Lukaku, Burdisso, project to follow, all of that. And please do hit the like, by the way. It takes 2 seconds. It's free of cost and it supports Roma Theory and this community a lot. So please do it and get your friends to do it as well. Simo, out.